Minji stared at her screen with wide eyes. The signals coming through the deep space array were unlike anything she had seen before. She worked the night shift at Seoul's Pride monitoring station, floating in the dark between stars. Most nights were quiet with only the usual background noise from distant pulsars and radio galaxies. But tonight was different. The signal was clearly artificial. Someone or something was broadcasting a message toward Earth from the Kepler 442 system, over 30 light-years away. Minji's hands moved quickly across her control panel as she tried to clean up the transmission. The signal was weak and broken, but there was definitely a pattern inside the static. "Computer, run Translation Protocol 7, she said to the stations. Artificial intelligence. The AI had learned dozens of theoretical alien languages that scientists thought might exist. It was mostly guesswork, but it was the best they had. Minutes passed as the computer worked on the signal. Minji checked the time and saw it was almost 3 in the morning station time. Captain Junho would be sleeping, but this was important, enough to wake him up. She had never seen anything like this before in her 5 years working deep space communications. The computer finished its analysis and displayed the results on her main screen. Minji read the translation and felt her heart start beating faster. This was not just any alien signal, this was a cry for help. "We are the Valari people of the Kepler system," the message began. "Our worlds are under attack by the empire called the Dominion. They have destroyed our outer colonies and are moving toward our home planet. We send this message to any species that might hear us. The Dominion kills all who will not serve them. They see other species as animals to be used or destroyed. We have tried to fight, but our weapons are weak against their ships. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We are peaceful traders who have never harmed others. The Dominion has given us 7 days to surrender, or they will destroy our remaining 3 billion people. This message repeats on all frequencies. Please, someone help us." Minji saved the message and immediately called Captain Junho's quarters. The communication system buzzed for several seconds before a sleepy voice answered. "This better be important." "Minji," Junho said. "Sir, you need to come to the communications center right away. We have received an alien distress signal." There was silence for a moment. Then Junho's voice came back, much more alert. "I'll be there in 5 minutes." Minji spent the time analyzing the signal more carefully. The computer had also detected star charts and technical data embedded in the transmission. The aliens had included maps showing the location of their worlds and the movement of enemy fleets. According to the data, the Dominion had over 2,000 warships advancing on the final Valari strongholds. Captain Junho arrived wearing his uniform, but with his hair still messy from sleep. He was a tall man in his 40s who had served on deep space stations for most of his career. Minji had never seen him look worried before, but his face was serious as he studied her findings. "Play the message again," he ordered. They listened to the translation together. When it finished, Junho was quiet for a long time. He stared at the star charts showing Dominion fleet positions and the desperate defensive formations of the Valari. "Ships, have you confirmed this is genuine?" he asked. "Yes, sir." The signal characteristics match natural transmission from that distance. The language patterns are consistent throughout. The technical data about their star system matches our own observations. "I believe this is real." Junho nodded slowly. "Send everything to Earth Command immediately. Priority Alpha transmission. Wake up Admiral Hyunwoo if you have to." "Sir, should we respond to the aliens?" "Not yet. This decision is way above our level. But make sure you keep monitoring for any updates to their situation." Minji sent the complete data package toward Earth using the station's quantum communication array. Even at faster-than-light speeds, it would take several hours for the message to reach Earth Command. She continued watching the Kepler system for new transmissions, while Captain Junho returned to his quarters to wait for orders. 12 hours. Later, Admiral Hyunwoo was sitting in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters. He had been awakened at 4 in the morning by urgent calls from his staff. The alien message was now playing on screens throughout the facility as teams of experts analyzed every detail. The Admiral was a veteran of the Mars Independence War and the Titan mining conflicts. He had seen humanity fight itself across the solar system for resources and territory. Those wars had taught humans how to build weapons that could crack moons and fleets that could move between worlds faster than anyone thought possible. But this was different. This was the first time humans had encountered aliens, and they were asking for help against an enemy that sounded very dangerous. "What do we know about this Dominion?" Admiral Hyun-woo asked his intelligence chief. "Based on the Valari data, they control approximately 40 star systems. They appear to use energy weapons and have been expanding their territory for over 200 years. Every species they encounter is either enslaved or exterminated. No exceptions. And the Valari? Peaceful traders, just like they claim. Our deep space telescopes have observed their cargo ships for years. We thought they were automated probes. They've never shown any aggressive behavior." Admiral Hyun-woo studied the tactical display showing Dominion fleet movements. The enemy ships were moving in perfect formation toward the last Valari worlds. According to the timeline, the final attack would begin in less than 6 days. "Sir, Minister So-young is requesting an emergency session of the Defense Council," an aide announced. "Tell her we'll meet in 2 hours. I want full analysis of the Dominion military capabilities and projections for their expansion patterns." The emergency meeting brought together the leaders of Earth's military and government. Minister So-young argued that humanity had a moral obligation to help the Valari. Others worried about involving Earth in an alien war that might be none of their business. "The Dominion expansion vector puts them on a direct course toward human space," Admiral Hyun-woo announced. "If they continue their current rate of conquest, they will reach the outer edges of our territory in approximately 35 years. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Dominion was not just a threat to the Valari. Eventually, they would be a threat to humanity. "What are our options?" Minister So-young asked. "We can send a diplomatic mission to try negotiating with the Dominion," the Foreign Affairs advisor suggested. Admiral Hyun-woo shook his head. "Based on their history, the Dominion doesn't negotiate. They demand surrender or they destroy everything." "Then what do you recommend, Admiral?" Hyun-woo looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. These people had never seen real war between species. They had grown up during humanity's expansion into space, when the biggest threats were equipment failures and resource shortages. But the Admiral remembered the battles for Mars and the desperate fighting around Jupiter's moons. He knew what humans were capable of when they decided to fight. "We mobilized the fleet," he said simply. "All of it." "To rescue the Valari?" someone asked. "To eliminate the Dominion threat before it reaches our space. We have 6 days to prevent a genocide and remove a future enemy. I recommend we use them." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in its history, humanity would respond to an alien species asking for help. But they would not respond with diplomacy or aid missions or peace negotiations. They would respond with battleships. The largest fleet in human history gathered at the Mars orbital shipyards. Admiral Tae-hyung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the dreadnought Incheon's Wrath, watching hundreds of warships take their positions in the formation. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and carriers moved through space like a deadly dance as they prepared for the jump to Kepler 442. Tae-hyung had fought in the Titan Wars, where human fleets battled over mining rights in the outer system. Those conflicts had been brutal but small compared to this. Never before had humanity assembled 847 warships for a single operation. The fleet stretched across thousands of kilometers of space, their hulls gleaming with weapons and armor designed for the harsh realities of interstellar warfare. Admiral Ji-won's Second Strike Fleet reports ready for jump, his communications officer announced. Admiral Ji-won commanded another 300 ships from her flagship Busan's Fury, positioned on the fleet's left flank. Her ships were faster and more aggressive, designed to hit hard and move quickly through enemy formations. "All ships report ready, sir," the fleet coordinator said. "Total strength, 847 vessels, including 23 dreadnoughts, 67 battleships, 158 cruisers, and 400 carrier and support ships." Admiral Tae-hyung nodded. It was an overwhelming force by human standards. But the Dominion had over 2,000 ships, and they had been fighting wars for centuries. The humans would need every advantage they could get. "Open a channel to the fleet," he ordered. Across hundreds of ships, human crews stopped their preparations to listen to their commander. These men and women had volunteered to travel 30 light years to fight for people they had never met against. an enemy they barely understood. Many of them were veterans of humanity's own wars, but this was different. This was humanity's first step into a wider galaxy. Today we go to war against an empire that destroys entire species for the crime of existing, Admiral Tae-hyung began. The Dominion has never met humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. They think we're another weak species that will beg for mercy when they show their strength. They're about to learn how wrong they are. When we arrive at Kepler 442, we will give them one chance to withdraw. If they refuse, we will show them why humanity survived every challenge our own world threw at us. We will show them why we conquered our solar system despite having no help from anyone. And we will show them that threatening innocent people in our galaxy is a mistake they will only make once. The fleet began its jump sequence. One by one, the massive ships disappeared into hyperspace, their destinations locked onto the Kepler system where the Volari were making their last stand against the Dominion Armada. On the Dominion capital world of Vorthak, Supreme Commander Vextar was reviewing battle reports from the Kepler operation. The Volari resistance was almost broken. Their pitiful fleet of cargo ships converted to warships had been swept aside in the first day of fighting. Only their 3 inner worlds remained, and they would fall within hours. Vextar was proud of his efficiency. The Dominion had perfected the art of conquest over 2 centuries of expansion. They would arrive at a system, demand immediate surrender, and destroy anyone who resisted. Most species surrendered after seeing what happened to the first few worlds that fought back. The Volari had been stubborn, but they were nearly finished. "Sir, we're receiving reports of unknown ships emerging from hyperspace near the Kepler system," his aide announced. "How many ships?" Vextar asked without looking up from his reports. "Approximately 800 vessels, sir." That made Vextar pause. 800 ships was a significant force, larger than most Dominion battle fleets, but it was still far smaller than the 2,000 ships he had committed to the Kepler operation. "Species identification?" "Unknown, sir. The ships don't match any known designs in our database." Vextar finally looked up from his work. In 200 years of expansion, the Dominion had cataloged every spacefaring species in their region of the galaxy. There should not be any unknown fleets large enough to threaten his operations. "Show me the tactical display," he ordered. The main screen showed the Kepler system with Dominion ships positioned around the 3 remaining Volari worlds. The unknown fleet had emerged near the edge of the system and was moving toward the inner planets at high speed. Their formation was tight and disciplined, nothing like the desperate charges of species facing extinction. "Sir, the unknown fleet is broadcasting on all frequencies," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was calm and controlled, speaking in perfectly translated Dominion Standard language. "Dominion forces, you have 30 minutes to withdraw from all Volari systems. This is not a negotiation." The bridge of Vextar's command ship went completely silent. In 2 centuries of conquest, no one had ever given the Dominion an ultimatum. Species begged, they bargained, they offered tribute, but they never made demands. "Reply to them," Vextar ordered. "Inform them that they are interfering with a legitimate Dominion operation. They will withdraw immediately or be destroyed." The response came back within seconds. 29 minutes. Commander Da-yun watched the Dominion fleet from the bridge of her destroyer Gangnam's Edge. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belt and separatists around Europa, but she had never seen anything like the massive Dominion formation. Their ships were huge and heavily armed, designed to intimidate as much as to fight. "They're not moving to withdraw," she reported to Admiral Tae-hyung. "I didn't think they would," the Admiral replied over the communication channel. "These people have been bullying the galaxy for 200 years. They can't imagine anyone being stronger than they are. Sir, Dominion fleet is changing formation. They're moving to engage." On his flagship, Admiral Tae-hyung watched the Dominion ships break out of their siege positions around the Volari worlds. The alien vessels moved in perfect formation, their commanders clearly confident in their superiority. Tactical analysis showed that each Dominion ship was larger than its human equivalent, with heavier armor and more weapons. But the humans had advantages the Dominion could not see. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable, built for the brutal close-range fighting of humanity's own wars. Human weapons were designed to punch through the heaviest armor, and human tactics had been developed through decades of fighting against enemies who knew all their weaknesses. Time remaining on ultimatum? Admiral Taehyung asked. 15 minutes, sir. All ships prepare for combat. Weapon systems online, shields at maximum. When the timer reaches 0, we engage. Across the human fleet, crews made final preparations. For battle, magnetic accelerator cannons charged to full power, plasma lance batteries came online, torpedo tubes loaded with quantum warheads, fighter squadrons prepared for launch from carrier decks. The Dominion fleet continued its approach, 2,000 ships strong and confident in their inevitable victory. They had destroyed countless species with these same tactics. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush anyone stupid enough to resist. But they had never fought humans before. Admiral Jiwon's strike fleet moved to flank the advancing Dominion formation, while Admiral Taehyung's battle line prepared to meet them head-on. The tactical display showed the two fleets approaching each other at tremendous speed, the gap between them shrinking with every second. 10 minutes remaining, the communications officer announced. In the Valari cities below, millions of people watched the skies through telescopes and sensors. They had sent their desperate message hoping someone might hear them, but they had never imagined that help would come in the form of a fleet larger than anything they had ever seen. 5 minutes. The Dominion fleet commander was growing impatient. These unknown aliens should have fled by now when they saw the size of his force. Instead, they continued to advance as if they actually intended to fight. It was suicide, but if they wanted to die quickly, he would accommodate them. 2 minutes. Admiral Taehyung stood calmly on his bridge, watching the countdown timer. Around him, his crew worked with the quiet efficiency of professionals who had trained for this moment their entire careers. Every system was ready, every weapon was charged, every ship in the fleet was in perfect position. 1 minute. The Dominion commander decided not to wait for the arbitrary deadline. His ships opened fire at maximum range, energy beams and plasma bolts reaching across space toward the human fleet. It was the opening move in what he expected to be a very short battle. Time expired, the communications officer announced. 30 minutes are up. Admiral Taehyung looked at the incoming Dominion fire and smiled grimly. All ships, you are free to engage. Show them what humans do to bullies. The Battle of Kepler 442 began with the Dominion fleet firing everything they had at the approaching human ships. Thousands of energy beams and plasma bolts streaked across space, lighting up the darkness between the stars. The Dominion commanders watched their displays with satisfaction, expecting to see the unknown fleet shattered by their opening barrage. Instead, they watched in growing confusion as their weapons splashed harmlessly against human shields and armor. The alien ships they were fighting had been built for humanity's own brutal wars, where every engagement was a desperate struggle between equals. Their defensive systems were designed to stop weapons far more powerful than anything the Dominion had ever developed. Captain Dongyuk stood on the bridge of his battleship Soul's Hammer as Dominion fire washed over his shields without effect. His crew worked calmly at their stations, preparing the ship's main weapons for their first shot at an alien target. Shields holding at 97%, his tactical officer reported. Minimal damage from enemy fire. Target the lead Dominion. Dreadnought, Dongyuk ordered. All batteries, prepare to fire. The Soul's Hammer was one of humanity's newest battleships, built with lessons learned from the savage fighting around Titan. Her main guns were magnetic accelerator cannons that could fire projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Each shell carried enough kinetic energy to crack a small moon. Firing, the weapons officer announced. 6 shells launched from the battleship's main guns, followed by dozens more from the secondary batteries. The projectiles crossed the space, between fleets in seconds, moving too fast for Dominion point defense systems to track. The lead Dominion ship simply disappeared. One moment it was there, a massive dreadnought over 2 kilometers long. The next moment, there was only an expanding cloud of debris and plasma. The magnetic accelerator shells had punched completely through the alien ship's shields and armor, tearing it apart from the inside. Target destroyed, the tactical officer reported in a matter-of-fact voice. Across the human fleet, similar scenes played out as hundreds of ships opened fire. Plasma lance batteries sent coherent beams of superheated matter through Dominion. Hulls. Quantum torpedoes detonated inside enemy ships, creating tiny black holes that consumed them from within. Railgun salvos shredded alien armor like paper. Admiral Jiwon's strike fleet hit the Dominion formation from the side. her fast. Cruisers and destroyers tearing through the enemy line like sharks attacking a school of fish. The Dominion ships tried to turn to meet this new threat, but human vessels were far more maneuverable than the massive alien dreadnoughts. "Admiral, enemy fleet is breaking formation," her tactical coordinator reported from the bridge of Busan's. "Fury! Continue the attack. Don't give them time to regroup." The strike fleet's attack sent the Dominion line into chaos. Ships collided with each other as they tried to avoid human fire. Others broke away from the formation entirely, their commanders panicking as they watched their supposedly invincible fleet being torn apart by these unknown enemies. On his command ship, Supreme Commander Vextar stared at his tactical display, in shock. In less than 10 minutes of fighting, he had lost over 300 ships. The unknown fleet was cutting through his forces like they were made of paper, their weapons more powerful than anything in Dominion experience. "Sir, our weapons aren't penetrating their armor," his tactical officer reported. "Energy output shows they're using some kind of composite material we've never seen before. What about their shields? Also, unknown technology. Our plasma cannons are having minimal effect." Vextar watched another squadron of Dominion cruisers disappear under human fire. These aliens fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They showed no hesitation, no fear, and no mercy. Every shot was aimed to kill, every maneuver designed to put them in position for another devastating attack. "Order all ships to focus fire on their flagship," he commanded. "Concentrate everything we have on that large dreadnought." The Dominion fleet tried to coordinate their fire on Admiral Taehyung's ship, the Inchin's Wrath. Hundreds of energy weapons targeted the human flagship as alien commanders hoped that killing the enemy leader might break their formation. The massive dreadnought disappeared behind a wall of explosions and energy as the concentrated Dominion barrage struck home. For a moment, the alien commanders thought they had succeeded in destroying the human flagship. Then the smoke cleared, and the Inchin's Wrath emerged completely undamaged. "Impossible," Vextar whispered. Admiral Taehyung felt his ship shake slightly as the Dominion barrage struck his shields. The tactical display showed shield strength dropping to 85% before the defensive system stabilized and began recharging. "Return fire," he ordered calmly. The Inchin's Wrath carried the most powerful weapons in the human fleet. Her main guns were designed to crack fortified moons and destroy entire fleets. When they fired, the energy output was visible from the inner planets as a brief new star. The Dominion command ship and everything within 1,000 kilometers of it simply ceased to exist. Supreme Commander Vexatar and his entire staff were vaporized before they even realized they were under attack. With their command structure gone, the Dominion fleet began to collapse. Ships fled in all directions as local commanders abandoned the battle to save themselves, but human vessels were faster, and Admiral Taehyung had no intention of letting any of them escape. "All units, pursue and destroy," he broadcast to his fleet. "No Dominion ship leaves this system." Captain Seojun commanded the stealth destroyer Busan's Shadow, one of humanity's most advanced warships. His ship was coated with materials that absorbed sensor beams and equipped with engines that left no detectable signature. In the chaos of the main battle, he had slipped away to hunt the fleeing Dominion vessels. "Contact bearing 270, his sensor officer reported. 3 Dominion cruisers attempting to reach the hyperspace limit. Intercept course," Seojun ordered. "Time to intercept." 14 minutes at current speed. The Busan's Shadow accelerated toward the fleeing ships, its stealth systems keeping it invisible to Dominion sensors. The alien vessels were running. At full speed, their commanders desperate to escape the massacre behind them. "Target locked. Range 3,000 kilometers. Fire!" Quantum torpedoes launched from the destroyer's tubes, their exotic matter warheads invisible to normal sensors. The fleeing Dominion ships had no warning before the weapons detonated inside their hulls, creating miniature black holes that consumed the vessels from within. Targets destroyed. No survivors. Similar hunts played out across the system as human ships pursued the remnants of the Dominion fleet. Advanced sensors tracked every fleeing vessel while faster-than-light communications coordinated the pursuit. None of the alien ships had the speed to outrun human hunters or the stealth technology to hide from human sensors. Admiral Neon commanded the carrier Jeju's wings, launching wave after wave of fighter bombers to support the main fleet's attack. Her pilots were veterans of the Belt Wars, accustomed to fighting in the tight confines of asteroid fields and orbital stations. Squadron leader Minho led 12 fighters in an attack on a Dominion battle group that was trying to reform near the system's fourth planet. His ships moved in perfect formation, their pilots communicating through quantum-encrypted channels that no alien could intercept. "Target the command ship first," he instructed his squadron. "Break their coordination, and the rest will be easy." The human fighters accelerated toward the Dominion formation at speeds that would have crushed alien pilots. Enhanced reflexes and cybernetic implants allowed them to survive maneuvers that should have been impossible, turning and diving through enemy fire like deadly insects. "Launching attack run," Minho announced, as his fighter dove toward the Dominion flagship. His ship's weapons were miniaturized versions of the main fleet's armaments, plasma cannons, and micro-torpedoes that could punch through cruiser armor. The Dominion point defense systems tried to track him, but human fighters were too fast and too agile. Direct hit on the bridge. Target is dead in space. The Dominion battle group scattered as their command ship exploded. Without coordination, the alien vessels became easy targets for follow-up attacks. Minho's squadron destroyed 3 cruisers and 5 destroyers in less than 20 minutes, suffering no losses of their own. On the Valari homeworld below, millions of people watched the battle through their telescopes and sensors. They had expected to die today, crushed under the weight of the Dominion's final assault. Instead, they watched their oppressors being systematically destroyed by these mysterious human saviors. Valari Administrator Korvax stood in his planet's main observatory, watching the tactical display with amazement. The human fleet was smaller than the Dominion force, but they were winning the battle with ease. Their weapons were more powerful, their ships were faster, and their tactics were far superior. "How many Dominion ships remain?" he asked his tactical officer. "Approximately 400, sir. But they're scattered across the system and being hunted down by human forces." "And human losses?" "None detected, sir. Their ships appear to be undamaged." Korvax could hardly believe what he was seeing. In 6 hours of fighting, the humans had destroyed over 1,500 Dominion warships without losing a single vessel of their own. Admiral Tae-hyung received new orders from Earth Command 3 days after the Battle of Kepler 442. The message from Admiral Hyunwoo was short and direct: complete elimination of the Dominion Empire. No negotiations, no terms for surrender, just total destruction of their military capability across 40 star systems. The human fleet divided into smaller task forces, each commanded by experienced officers who had proven themselves in the Kepler battle. Captain Young-ho took command of Task Force Alpha aboard his battleship Daigu's Vengeance, while Captain Yoonji led Task Force Beta from her heavy cruiser Ulsan's Storm. Each group had enough firepower to destroy entire planetary defense systems. "Intelligence reports show Dominion fleets scattered across their territory," Admiral Tae-hyung announced to his task force commanders during their strategy meeting. "They're trying to protect their core worlds while maintaining control over their slave species. We'll hit them fast and hard before they can concentrate their remaining forces." The systematic destruction of the Dominion Empire began with simultaneous attacks on 12 frontier systems. Human ships appeared without warning, emerging from hyperspace directly on top of orbital defense platforms and military bases. The aliens had no time to organize resistance before their defenses were reduced to wreckage. Captain Young-ho led the assault on the Vorthak Secondary Fleet Base, where over 200 Dominion ships were undergoing repairs and resupply. His task force included 3 battleships, 8 cruisers, and a dozen destroyers. Against normal opponents, it would have been a difficult fight. Against the Dominion, it was a massacre. "Enemy fleet is attempting to form defensive formation," his tactical officer reported as they dropped out of hyperspace inside the system. "Don't give them the chance," Young-ho ordered. "All ships, attack formation. Target their largest vessels first." The Daigu's Vengeance opened fire with her main batteries, sending magnetic accelerator shells through a Dominion dreadnought like it was made of paper. Secondary explosions tore the alien ship apart as her ammunition stores detonated. Around her, the rest of Task Force Alpha engaged targets with ruthless efficiency. The Dominion ships were caught completely off guard. Many were still docked at orbital facilities when the humans attacked, their crews conducting routine maintenance instead of preparing for battle. Those that managed to get underway found themselves facing weapons far more advanced than anything in their experience. Sir, enemy flagship is requesting communication, the communications officer announced. Put it through, Young-ho replied. The voice that came through the speakers was desperate and frightened, nothing like the arrogant demands the Dominion usually made to their victims. Please, we surrender. We yield to your superior force. What are your terms? Captain Young-ho considered the request for exactly 2 seconds. No terms, no surrender, no mercy. The communication channel went dead as the Daigu's vengeance destroyed the Dominion flagship with a single salvo. The message was clear to every alien ship in the system. Humanity was not interested in prisoners or conditional surrender. This was extermination. The battle lasted less than 3 hours. When it ended, the Vorthak Secondary Fleet Base was a collection of burning wrecks floating in space. 230 Dominion warships had been destroyed without damaging a single human vessel. Task Force Alpha was already preparing to jump to their next target. Similar scenes played out across Dominion space as human task forces struck at military installations throughout the Empire. The aliens tried to coordinate their defense, but human ships moved too fast and hit too hard. By the time Dominion reinforcements arrived at an attacked system, they found only debris and the quantum signatures of ships jumping to hyperspace. Commander Jae-hyun led the Marine boarding parties that captured intact Dominion vessels for intelligence gathering. His soldiers were veterans of the Titan Station assaults, trained in zero-gravity combat and equipped with powered armor that made them nearly invulnerable to Dominion weapons. Boarding torpedo launched, his sergeant reported as they approached a crippled Dominion command ship. Breaching charges ready. The human boarding torpedo punched through the alien ship's hull like tissue paper, creating an entry point for the assault team. Jae-hyun led his Marines through the breach into the enemy vessel, their armor systems automatically adjusting to the ship's atmosphere and gravity. Dominion security forces tried to resist the boarding, but their energy weapons barely scratched human armor. The Marines advanced methodically through the ship's corridors, stunning alien crew members with non-lethal weapons and securing critical systems. Bridge secured, Jae-hyun reported to his ship. Beginning data extraction. The Marines connected, their equipment to the Dominion ship's computer systems, downloading navigation charts, fleet dispositions, and communication logs. Within minutes, they had complete intelligence on Dominion military positions throughout the Empire. Sir, we've found something interesting, his tech specialist announced. Hidden files about something called Project Extinction. Jae-hyun reviewed the files on his armor's display and felt his blood run cold. Project Extinction was the Dominion's plan for dealing with inferior species that refused to surrender. Massive orbital bombardment platforms designed to sterilize entire planets, killing every living thing on the surface. How many of these platforms do they have? He asked. According to these files, at least 50. They're hidden in deep space throughout Dominion territory. Jae-hyun immediately transmitted the intelligence to Admiral Tae-hyung. The revelation that the Dominion possessed planet-killing weapons changed the entire operation. Instead of just destroying military fleets, the humans now had to hunt down and eliminate weapons of mass genocide. Intelligence Officer Yuna analyzed the captured data aboard the fleet flagship, using advanced computers to map the locations of Dominion's secret weapons. The aliens had been very careful to hide their planet killers, placing them in empty systems where they could strike without warning. Admiral, I've identified the locations of 37 bombardment platforms, she reported to Admiral Tae-hyung. The remainder appear to be mobile, attached to deep space fleets. How long would it take to destroy them all? With our current task force deployments, approximately 6 weeks. But sir, there's something else. The platforms are currently being moved toward Dominion core worlds. Intelligence suggests they're planning to use them against their own slave populations. Admiral Tae-hyung understood immediately. The Dominion leadership realized they were losing the war against humanity. Rather than accept defeat, they were preparing to commit genocide on a massive scale, destroying billions of innocent people rather than let them be liberated. Signal all task forces, he ordered. Priority Alpha targets are now the planet killer platforms. Everything else is secondary. The hunt for the Dominion's weapons of mass destruction became a race against time. Human fleets spread across 40 star systems, following intelligence leads and sensor traces to track down the hidden platforms. Each one they found was destroyed immediately, reduced to atoms by concentrated fire from multiple ships. Captain Yunji discovered 3 platforms hidden in the Altair Secundus system, massive constructions designed to rain death on helpless worlds. Her task force destroyed them with quantum torpedoes, creating brief artificial stars as the weapon's power cores went critical. "Platforms destroyed," she reported. "No survivors, but while the humans hunted planet killers, the Dominion leadership was making desperate preparations on their homeworld of Vorthak Prime. The Empire's ruling council had watched their supposedly invincible fleets crushed by these unknown humans. In a matter of weeks, their 200-year reign of terror was ending, and they knew it. The humans refuse all attempts at communication," military coordinator Zektai reported to the emergency council session. "They are not interested in tribute, territory, or negotiation. They appear to want our complete destruction. Then we will make them pay for their victory," Supreme Leader Vokhtar declared. "Activate the final protocol. If we cannot rule the galaxy, no one will." The final protocol was the Dominion's ultimate weapon, a network of quantum bombs placed throughout their territory, designed to create a chain reaction that would destroy entire sectors of space. It was a doomsday device that would kill trillions of beings, including most of the Dominion's own population. But the aliens had underestimated human intelligence capabilities. UNA's analysis teams had already identified the quantum bomb network from captured data. The locations of every device were known, and human ships were already moving to intercept them. "All quantum bombs identified and targeted," UNA reported, to Admiral Tae-hyung. "Task forces are in position to eliminate them simultaneously." "Execute immediately," the Admiral ordered. "Don't give them time to activate the devices." Across Dominion space, human ships struck at the hidden weapons with perfect coordination. Quantum bombs that had taken decades to build and position were destroyed in minutes by human task forces. The Dominion's final act of spite was prevented before it could begin. On Vorthak Prime, Supreme Leader Vokhtar watched his empire's last hope disappear from the tactical displays. Every quantum bomb showed as destroyed or disabled. The human fleets had somehow located and eliminated his ultimate weapons before they could be used. 6 months after the first Valari distress signal, Admiral Tae-hyung stood in the command center of the orbital station above Vorthak Prime. The former Dominion capital had been completely transformed under human supervision. Where once the planet's surface had been covered with massive military complexes and slave labor camps, now there were reconstruction centers and refugee processing facilities. The Dominion Empire was gone. Every military installation had been destroyed, every warship reduced to scrap metal, every weapon of mass destruction eliminated. But the humans had not stopped there. They had systematically dismantled the entire apparatus of oppression that had kept dozens of species in slavery for over 2 centuries. Valari Administrator Korvax worked alongside Human Reconstruction Coordinator Sunwoo in the station's main planning center. The two had become close friends over the months of working together, despite coming from species that had never known the other existed until recently. "The Altarian refugees are requesting permission to return to their homeworld," Korvax reported. "Our surveys show the planet is habitable again after the Dominion contamination has been cleared." "Approved," Sunwoo replied, making notes on his electronic tablet. "What about the Kepler Mining Guild? Are they ready to resume operations?" "Yes, but they want human security guarantees. They're afraid other empires might try to move into the former Dominion territory." Sunwoo smiled. "They'll have those guarantees. Admiral Hyunwoo has made it very clear that humanity considers this entire region under our protection now." The transformation of the former Dominion space had been remarkably swift. Human engineering teams had arrived within weeks of the military victory, bringing advanced technology and resources to help rebuild shattered worlds. Medical ships provided treatment for species that had suffered under Dominion rule. Educational teams taught former slaves how to govern themselves. But the most important change was the new Interspecies Defense Council, headquartered on the former Dominion capital. Representatives from 37 liberated species worked together to create a new system of mutual protection and cooperation. And at the center of it all were the humans who had made it possible. Diplomatic attaché Chae-young reviewed the latest requests for human assistance that had arrived at the council headquarters. Word of humanity's victory over the Dominion had spread across the galaxy faster than light, carried by refugee ships and trading vessels to every civilized world. "Admiral, we have 43 new requests for protection services. she reported to Admiral Tae-hyung during their weekly briefing. The Centauri Trade Federation is asking for help with pirate raids. The Rigel agricultural colonies want security, guarantees against the hegemony empire, and the Independent Worlds Alliance is requesting a formal defense treaty. Admiral Tae-hyung studied the list of requests. Each one represented species that had heard about humanity's swift response to the Valari distress call and wanted the same protection for themselves. The galaxy was learning that humans did not ignore cries for help from innocent people. "What's our current fleet strength?" he asked. 2,700 active warships, with another 800 under construction at the Earth and Mars. Shipyards. Admiral Hyun-woo has authorized a massive expansion of the fleet to meet our new responsibilities. The human fleet had grown enormously since the Dominion War. Earth's industrial capacity had been mobilized to build ships faster than ever before. New shipyards orbited every planet in the solar system, their automated factories producing battleships and cruisers around the clock. Young officers like Lieutenant Woo Jin graduated from the Naval Academy, knowing they would serve in a galaxy where humanity had become the dominant military power. The Academy's classes had tripled in size as Earth, prepared for its role as protector of dozens of species across hundreds of light years. "Sir, we have a new priority message from the Outer Rim," Lieutenant Woo Jin reported to his commanding officer aboard the destroyer Soul's Guardian. "The Vegan city-states are reporting attacks by something called the Iron Collective." The message was remarkably similar to the original Valari distress call. A peaceful species under attack by aggressive neighbors who demanded surrender or death. The Vegans had tried to resist, but their weapons were no match for the Iron Collective's war machines. "How long to reach the Vegan system?" the ship's captain asked. 18 hours at maximum hyperspace velocity, sir. "Set course immediately. Signal Admiral Jiwon's task force to rendezvous with us en route." The response was automatic now. When innocent species called for help, human ships answered. There were no debates about intervention or concerns about getting involved in alien conflicts. Humanity had made its position clear to the galaxy. Threatening peaceful species would bring swift retaliation from human fleets. On Earth, Admiral Hyun-woo reviewed reports from human commanders across the galaxy. The map in his office showed the locations of human task forces marked with green symbols indicating active protection zones. Nearly a quarter of the galaxy was now under informal human protection, with more species requesting assistance every month. "The Iron Collective has been eliminated," he announced to the Defense Council during their monthly meeting. "Admiral, Jiwon's task force destroyed their entire war fleet in 4 hours. The Vegan worlds are secure." "What about the hegemony empire that was threatening the Rigel colonies?" Minister So-young asked. "They withdrew their fleets as soon as they detected human ships in the region. It seems our reputation is starting to precede us." The galaxy was learning that humanity's response to aggression was both swift and final. Empires that had spent centuries bullying their neighbors suddenly found themselves facing human battleships if they threatened species under Earth's protection. Most chose to avoid confrontation rather than face the same fate as the Dominion. Captain Minji, now commanding her own heavy cruiser Incheon's Pride, received another alien distress signal while on patrol near the Galactic Rim. The message came from a species called the Aquarians, who were facing extinction from environmental collapse caused by industrial sabotage from their neighbors. "It's not a military threat this time," her communications officer reported. "The Meridian Corporation has been dumping toxic waste into the Aquarian ocean worlds. Their entire ecosystem is dying. Plot a course for the Aquarian system," Minji ordered, "and send a message to the Meridian Corporation. Tell them they have 24 hours to begin cleanup operations, or we'll consider their actions an attack on a protected species." The message that came back from Meridian was arrogant and dismissive. The corporation's executives claimed they were operating within their legal rights and had no intention of changing their business practices based on threats from an unknown military force. Minji's response was to position her task force in orbit above the corporation's headquarters world and demonstrate exactly what human magnetic accelerator cannons could do to industrial facilities. The toxic waste dumping stopped immediately, and Meridian began the largest environmental cleanup operation in galactic history. News of the incident spread throughout corporate networks across the galaxy. Companies that had been polluting worlds and exploiting helpless species suddenly found themselves reviewing their practices. The humans had made it clear that environmental destruction would be treated the same as military aggression. The transformation of galactic civilization accelerated as more species joined the Interspecies Defense Council. Trade routes that had been disrupted by piracy and warfare reopened under human protection. Scientific cooperation flourished as species shared knowledge without fear of having their discoveries stolen by aggressive neighbors. But the most important change was in the attitude of the galaxy's predatory empires. Civilizations that had built their power on conquest and exploitation found themselves facing a species that was stronger, faster, and utterly committed to protecting innocent life. The age of galactic bullies was ending. Admiral Tae-hyung received a communication from Earth Command informing him that the Galactic Senate had voted to formally recognize humanity as the designated protector of interstellar peace. It was an unprecedented honor, acknowledging Earth's role in transforming the galaxy from a place of fear into one of hope. "Sir, we have another distress signal," his communications officer announced. "The Tau City research stations are reporting raids by the Skull Fleet pirates." Admiral Tae-hyung looked at the tactical display showing human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Dozens of task forces were already responding to various threats, their commanders acting with the authority of Earth's mandate to protect innocent life wherever it was threatened. "Dispatch Task Force 7 to handle the pirates," he ordered, "and remind the Skull Fleet that attacking civilians under human protection is a capital offense." The message would be received and understood. Pirates, warlords, and would-be conquerors across the galaxy had learned to fear the appearance of human ships in their skies. The galaxy had a new sheriff, and Earth's badge was carried by 847 warships in the original Kepler intervention. But now that fleet had grown to thousands of vessels, each one carrying the same message that Admiral Tae-hyung had delivered to the Dominion Empire. Threatening innocent people in this galaxy was a mistake that would only be made once.